While some car enthusiasts will be holding back the tears after General Motors today confirmed production of the classic brand will be coasting to a halt by the end of next year. About 600 Australian staff will lose their jobs by the end of this year, and the company's been making Holdens for more than 100 years and estimates there's 1.6 million Holdens in the world. It's assuring customers it will honour all warranties made at the time of sales and will provide servicing and parts for at least another decade. From across the ditch, Mark Fletcher of classic Restos tries to put into words a lifetime of Holden memories.
What do we say, Lisa? I mean, what do we say? It's the Australia's own car, which started off with the FX215 back in 1948. I think the saddest thing about the whole thing is just the automotive legacy that was created here in Holden here in Australia, and not only just building the cars, but it just employed so many people and so many offshoot divisions and smaller businesses as well.
What's so special about Holdens?
Well, it's Australia's own car. We had British cars come to this country. We had American cars if you're wealthy enough to drive a main line or a custom line back in the day. But when it came to mass production, Lisa, 1948, it was back in the days of the Prime Minister being proud of the car, and he turned up to the launch, and then exported to so many countries as well. Obviously New Zealand too, and it was our own car, and it's a legacy that has been derived over many years with lots of captions, including the old football, meat pies, kangaroos, and Holden cars. It's part of our heritage, isn't it?
So, the best Holden ever, what would that be? The Barina, in your view?
Oh, you aim high, Lisa. You aim high. The Barina. Look,
Well, which is your favourite child from the Holden selection then?
Well, the Barina came around as a lower cost measure for, economy to help families as a smaller car. And look, it did a great little job. It was economical, a good A to B car. Look, with the Holden, with myself, Lisa, it spreads the gamut, because there's so many different products that they made. I mean, you can look back in the late 50s and see, your FC and your EK Holdens were at least dripping in chrome. I think Holden put more of their budget to the aesthetics of the vehicle and putting their stainless steel trim on their two-tone paint and their beautiful chrome grills. You only got one engine choice. You could only get your 138 cubic inch grey engine. It was 132 cubic inches prior to that. You only had a Holden engine choice, and that was the only one you got. But you got your beautiful two-tones, your pastel-y colours back in the day, a car laced with chrome, like I said, and they made a statement right through to the performance cars of late 60s and into the early 70s with our Monaros, and then our Tiranas in the early 70s. There was hundreds of thousands of people that love these things.
Do you have a memory that you can share on radio about a Holden? Best memory in a Holden?
Look, I think everyone's got a story of a Holden. I think my thoughts of a Holden my memories of a Holden, I think, would be relatives. My father had company cars back in the 60s and 70s, and they were actually Valiants and Falcons, and there was a couple of Holdens in the mix there in the late 60s. There's no particular one comes to mind, because with myself it all goes into a bit of a blended blur of, I'd love to have each one of those in my shed right now. But I think when we look at the regional conditions of Australia back in the day and the conditions these cars had to drive on, and I think that's a mark of testament as well. It's a harsh land over here. It gets very cold, it gets very hot. Corrugated dirt roads in regional areas were what they had to drive on back then. It was not everything was like a tar freeway. So they carved automotive history here in this country as a brand.
Hey, should we hang on to Holdens if we've got them, in the sense of, in terms of the work that you do with restorations and all the rest of it? Are the price of Holdens, is it going to go up because of what's happening?
The respect I have for vehicles is so broad. I've got myself one of the last of the VF, which is the HSV a supercharged 6.2 litre V8. And I bought it because, well, it's probably the first fancy car like that I've ever had. But I also wanted to buy it because I knew it was the last of the run. And more, I don't want to rack up a lot of Ks on that sort of a car, Lisa, but it's in the collection as something that I guess I can be proud of. And I think the ones that are left just have to be preserved as best as they possibly can.